What's happening, guys? I'm TechSource. Welcome to Setup Wars episode 297. The countdown has officially begun. 3 more episodes until the new season of Setup Wars. I'm actually really excited to refresh the series in just 3 weeks for you guys. But with that said, sit back and relax, because you know what time it is. You guys would be surprised to find out how many companies out there still have your personal information. I did. Exactly 371 companies are holding my data, and with today's sponsor, mine, I'm able to finally reclaim it back. You might not notice this, but your digital footprints are always kept even after deleting the account or removing the app from your phone or even unsubscribing from a list. And that could put you at a huge risk for identity theft, reputation damage, financial loss, and more. We've seen it happen when big companies out there get hacked and all the data gets stolen. I was surprised to find all these companies that still have my data, some of which I don't even recognize. Like, what is OFX and why do they still have my financial information since July of 2016? Mine makes it easy to reclaim back your data. You do this by visiting saymine.com and logging in with your primary email to view all of your digital footprint. Once I click reclaim, Mine helps me send over a deletion request directly to the company from my own inbox. You can then check them out under the Reclaim tab and cancel any of the requests within the first hour if you change your mind. So click my link below, you guys, to find out how many companies are still keeping your data and reclaim it back today. Kicking off the episode is Aryan and his super clean setup from Scotland. It took him about 6 months to complete for the purpose of gaming, schoolwork, and a little bit of entertainment, because what is a setup if not for entertaining? I'm definitely feeling the cozy vibes here. The brick wallpaper and the greenery contributes to this, along with the warm colors from the lighting. Well done. He does everything on a 24-inch 144Hz monitor that is hooked up to an IKEA lag Captain countertop with a few Alex units in white for a bit of contrast. But he did lift the table up using a few capital legs, which can also be used for extra storage. For peripherals, he's rocking a Logitech Pro keyboard with a G203 Light Sync mouse. And then for audio, we got a pair of Audio Engine A2 Plus speakers on stands, and then the HyperX Cloud Stingers that he uses for gaming. The PC part of the setup is a custom build featuring the Ryzen 5 3600 and the Gigabyte GTX 1660 Super. Overall, great choices on the gear and awesome job putting it all together. Thank you, Aryan, for sharing this with us. Up next is another clean setup by Elwin, coming all the way from Indonesia. He's a student who likes to game on his spare time, so he decided to build a setup where he can do it all. It took him about 2 years to get the setup to this point, not only for gaming, but for editing videos also. I do have to say though, it looks a bit incomplete, as if it's missing something. I would definitely use up the extra space on the left side of your desk so it balances with the PC on the other side, and maybe use the wall to help personalize the setup a bit further. Adding a wallpaper is a very easy and affordable way of completely changing the look of your setup and separating it from the crowd. Also, the best part is that it's not permanent. You can peel it off whenever you want. We got a stacked monitor setup on the IKEA Linman and a Dills combo, with the main being a 34-inch ultrawide and a 24-inch as an overhead. I love that Elwin flipped the top monitor upside down to minimize bezels between both displays. Tell me that doesn't look better compared to before. Moving on to peripherals, we got a beautiful combo with the KBD67 Lite and a Razer Viper Ultimate in the Mercury White. For audio, he's currently using the Altec Lansings, but he said he's waiting for the Creative Pebble V3s to arrive, which I would say, why didn't you just wait until then to submit? You know, Setup Wars is not a race, it's a marathon. I would much rather wait until you submit when the setup is complete, or when the setup is at a point where you're happy to share it with the world. In addition to the speakers, he also uses the G Pro X headset and a dedicated mic setup with the HyperX Quadcast S. I've definitely plugged the headset in the back of the PC instead of the front so that you can route the cable underneath the desk and hide all of that extra slack. Most of the cables are managed using a raceway, but I would put some more attention to the rest of the wires from the sub. You know, maybe use a sleeve to cover them up, or better yet, route them behind the middle leg so they are not visible from the front. Finishing up with the PC, it's a custom build inside the O11 Mini that's equipped with a 9600K and the Gigabyte RTX 3060 Ti. I know the setup isn't complete, but so far you are on the right track. Just work on finishing up everything before you submit again. Thank you, Elwin, for coming on the show. Coming in at 3 is Minostrith and his pretty epic laptop setup. He's a visual and graphic designer from Indonesia who built the setup for editing, digital painting, casual gaming, and media consumption. I'm already loving the vibes of this setup. It took him about 3 months of planning and 1 full day to set everything up from scratch. He does everything on a single 34-inch ultrawide that he has hooked up to a sit and stand desk, but he also added a monitor riser as well, which I think makes sense here. Not only does it provide extra space underneath the monitor to keep things nicely organized, but he also uses them to lift up the speakers. My only concern with the speakers, however, is that they are facing a bit outwards. I would rotate them slightly inwards, that way they are facing your ears. Aside from the speakers, he does own a pair of Sony SHP 9500s that he keeps on a stand and a dedicated mic setup with the Thrawn Max boom arm on the other side. Moving on to peripherals, we got the Digital Alliance Mecha Warrior keyboard with a glorious Model O, but he does pull out his drawing pad from underneath the riser when he needs to use it. See, that's another reason why I love monitor risers. It can be used as a place to store things for quick access. I gotta give Minos some credit on the lighting as well. It's balanced very nicely and there's a bit of creativity involved as well. He built a custom mount for the center RGB strip out of the packaging, which I think looks pretty cool. And since there are so many points of lighting, he's able to change up the appearance of the setup pretty easily. The setup might be a bit busy, but there is a good bit of tidiness as well, even with the cable management. Despite using a motorized desk, he did a great job keeping everything under control. This was one of the better laptop setups I've seen on the show recently. Thank you, Mino, for entering. Switching gears a bit, we're gonna take a look at a badass teen setup by Owen. He's a student who saved up for 3 years to build himself a pretty sweet triple monitor setup for gaming and graphic design. We got a single 32-inch in the middle, sandwiched by 2 additional 27 inches on the sides, all of which are hooked up to a Carly countertop, which has been lifted up using a few capital legs. Moving on to peripherals, you got the Razer Huntsman TE keyboard paired with a Viper Ultimate mouse, an exceptional cable management through the desk and into the several raceways mounted underneath the desk. Going with a longer power strip like the one you see here is an excellent choice for flexibility. This allows the user to plug in their devices comfortably without having to worry about cables being too short. Plus, it's a lot easier to access when the time comes to upgrade or replace gear. The only other things on the surface are the Elgato Stream Deck and the Go XLR, which he did a good job with hiding the cables as well. This setup is just so sharp and clean. I love it. Now for audio, the setup is only equipped with the Razer Kraken V2s as he doesn't use any speakers, but he does have a dedicated mic setup using the Shure SM7B. Powering it all is a beefy custom build running the Ryzen 9 5900X with 32 gigs of RAM and the ROG Strix RTX 3080 packed inside the O11 Dynamic. The setup might not have any personality, but it's got just enough to separate it from the crowd. A very clean setup nonetheless. Thank you, Owen, for sharing this with us. Wrapping up the episode is another dope triple monitor setup by Sander coming all the way from Norway. He's a student who spent about 4 years to get the setup to this point for gaming and YouTube. I do like the unique color scheme that he went with. It's an all black setup with some white and purple RGB accents, and he stayed very consistent with them. We got triple floating monitors mounted against the wall with a 35-inch ultrawide as the main and 2 additional 24-inch on the sides for multitasking. I love that Sander put in some extra effort in decorating the walls with some acoustic panels instead of leaving them open. However, the 2 extra panels above the wall shelves seem out of place. You know, I love what you did with the neon signs, so keep those, but I think the setup would look a lot better without the 2 random panels up top. Moving over to peripherals, you got a Model D wireless paired with an unlisted 65% keyboard. But if I had to guess from the acrylic case, it looks like the Wamier 65% board. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comment section what keyboard this is. The cable routing from the keyboard, however, is weird. It looks like it goes towards the left and through the mouse pad, then through the desk, but then it comes back up through the back. My guess is to show off the coil, and then it has it running up against the panels and towards the PC. I mean, the setup has very good cable management. It's just interesting to see it done this way. There are no speakers for the setup, but he does own a pair of SteelSeries Arctis Pros that he keeps above the wall shelf next to the other decorative pieces, which I must say is done very well. From the neon lights up top to the RGB strip underneath the wall shelf and the greenery that's spaced out, I feel like the setup is personalized very well and the lighting is on point. Finishing up with another custom O11 build. I think this is like the 3rd one in this episode. but this time with an Intel CPU. It's packing 9700K with an RTX 2070 Super. Unfortunately, the build is mostly aesthetics and lacks an airflow due to all the fans being intake and not having any exhaust. I would at least flip the 2 fans on a radiator so that you can get some fresh, cool air in that case. But other than that, and the 2 random acoustic panels, I think the setup checks most of the boxes. Well done, and thank you for sharing this with us. As a reminder, you guys can always pick up a cheap Windows CD key for less than $15. Just click on my link below and use the code TS20 for an extra 20% off. Once you get your CD key, just visit the activation settings in Windows and change your product key. It's that simple. And that will wrap up today's video. As always, make sure you guys comment below. Let me know which of these setups was your favorite. If you guys are enjoying Setup Wars, do let me know by tossing a like before you head out. It does help out the channel a ton, believe it or not. And if you guys are new here, consider subscribing because I do host Setup Wars every single Monday. I love you beautiful toenails, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.